let's look at how we structure an app correctly, or at least one of the correct ways to do it. The first thing we need to create is an item. So we're going to create a new QML code file and we're going to create an item. Now, what is an item? Well, if you look at the Qt documentation, it tells you an item type is the base type for all visual items. So anything visual you see on the screen when we're creating an app inherits the item type. So the item type will contain all the properties, methods, functions that an item needs in order to display itself and do whatever other functionality it needs to do. Okay, and it'll become clear why we're doing this in a particular way once we create a couple things and I walk you through it. So the first thing that we're actually going to do is create a new QML file. So let's go to the QML folder, add new. You'll notice vplay apps allows us to create an item. Simply choose that, and then let's give it a name. Let's call this property cross main item. Hit next and finish. Let it do its thing. It's compiling itself probably. And now we have our property cross main item. And you'll notice all it is an item. So the first thing we can get rid of is this ID. We don't need the ID just yet. What we do need to do is position this item. So because an item's visual, it needs a position to be in. And an easy way to position an item is anchors.fill. So it'll expand to fill whatever space you define. And in this case, we'll say fill up the parent that you currently find yourself embedded in. So once it does that, we actually want to load up another page. And we're not going to write that page just yet. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to go over to the property cross main.qml. And we're going to call this main item that we've just created. So how do we do that? Well, it's pretty simple. First of all, we're actually going to get rid of this entire nav stack and all of the comments. We're just going to start from scratch. So we just have an app item. We're going to give this an ID of app. It's pretty simple. And then how do we create that property cross main item? Well, that's simple too. We simply say property cross main item, and you'll notice the code auto completes for us. And then we're going to open and close our curly brace, and that will go ahead and create the property cross main item. So if we save that, and then we go to the live view, live run, that should open up our application, which is currently blank because we've taken away the nav stack, we've taken away the page, so our application is just blank. There's nothing there, apart from a view which is kind of invisible to us. So we know it all works, it compiles fine. So what do we want to do now? Well, just so we've got this clear in our heads, our main file is looking at property cross main, which is this one. Our property cross main says, hello, I'm an app. I want you to load up the property cross main item, which is here. Now this main item is going to contain the navigation stack, the pages, all the bits and pieces that we need. So why have we introduced this intermediate step of a main item? Well, it's going to contain a couple of the objects that we need in order to make remote HTTP calls to get, say, stuff from the internet, to hold the objects that contain the logic for our app. And the reason we do that is so that we don't put the logic inside of our views. We want to try and separate these things out. And I'll get into that in a little more detail in a later module. But for now, just know that's why we're separating things out in the way that we are.